G'day everybody, Craig Cobb here of TRADERCOBB.com. And in this video, you're seeing a chart right now that looks really against what I normally do, which is clean, concise, not messy charts. But let me take you through what I'm about to show to you. You see, what I've been doing for quite some time now, years in fact, is I've been watching the Bitcoin dominance chart. Not because I know what I'm doing with it, but because I'm trying to learn to see if there's any additional edge that I can find by using this resource that's available to us on TradingView. And what I've also come to have a look at today was the US dollar tether dominance chart as well. And we've got XBT, which is the longest amount of data that I can find on Bitcoin futures out there. So I've laid these over each other for the sole purpose of seeing, is there anything of value that we can take from these three charts combined? And the way that I'd hope to do it will be to have one chart up here, one chart underneath, and the next one underneath. So I've got three of them, and I can just move my cursor along each of those charts. I haven't been able to find a way to do that. So what I've done is I've used this little press button here to overlay these three different markets. And essentially, there's only one market there, really, and that's Bitcoin, which is this chart here. Okay, sorry, the Bitcoin chart is this chart here. So when I click it, see it comes up here. When I click this, it will show you that is the market dominance chart based on Bitcoin's USDT market dominance. And this one down here highlights as Bitcoin dominance chart. Now, the reason I'm doing this is for two reasons. One is I've spent quite a bit of time looking at this chart today. Okay. And I want to point out some of the findings that I found and then conclude with my actual complete finding because, yeah, it'll be interesting. Okay, so I've got the monthly chart here just to try and get rid of some of the noise, because if I was to go daily, have a look at what it looks like. Doesn't look too bad there, actually. We'll have a look at all of them. But when I zoom in, it can become quite messy. And I want to start from the monthly and work my way outward. Now, the whole purpose of this is to see, is there any sort of information that we can garner from these three different charts? Well, essentially the USDT dominance chart, the Bitcoin dominance chart, and then the actual Bitcoin price. Now, I didn't know what I was going to find when I put these over the top of each other. And to me, it looks like analysis paralysis. There's so much going on. So let's break this down a little bit. First and foremost, I want to have a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, which is this chart right here. This chart down here. As you can see, BTC dominance crypto chart, right? So this is our monthly chart. And as you can see, because there's a lot of movement up here, there's not a great deal that we can see of the dominance chart. But what I'm trying to garner here is, and I've done this research on Bitcoin's dominance just against Bitcoin, I don't see a real correlation about Bitcoin's price growing until we get a trend. That means essentially that we get the Bitcoin dominance chart actually moving in some form or fashion with higher lows and higher highs. And it's very difficult to see that through here. The next reason that I wanted to look at this was to look at the US dollar tether dominance chart to see if there is any correlation to Bitcoin's price action. And there definitely is. So let me show you. Here is Bitcoin's price over here. Which one was it? That's the Bitcoin price there. So what I'm looking at here is Bitcoin has gone up in value on these 2 months. The value of the price, it doesn't really matter so much to me. It's not of interest. We're overlaying these charts and looking at the movements of Bitcoin's price. And I've heard a lot of people say that US dollar tether dominance can help us with bull and bear markets. I'm finding quite the opposite. As a matter of fact, what I am finding is that they do directly correlate, but not in a fashion for which I can use. Now, keep in mind, I don't draw sloping trend lines or anything like that. I use horizontal support and resistance, and I read price action. Now, first of all, I'm going to come back up here and focus on the US dollar tether dominance chart. You can quite clearly see here on a weekly chart, there's a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, right? Well, at the same time, we've also got the Bitcoin price itself, which is down here. This is the Bitcoin price with a lower high, whereabouts? Right where we have a higher low on the US dollar dominance, lower high, right where we have a higher low. So they're basically inverse. They're a mirror image of each other. So as Bitcoin sells off, we see the dominance of Tether increase, which doesn't really come as much of a surprise. When the market gets shaky and starts to sell off, we see money move into the dominance chart. When we see Bitcoin get strong, like over here, we see money coming out of the US dollar tether US dollar tether dominance chart as people cash their USDT into BTC, looking for further gains in the Bitcoin against the dollar chart, right? So that's become something fairly clear. Am I able to use that as an indicator? No, because it seems to be that we can just look at Bitcoin and know that when Bitcoin's going down, we're typically going to see money go out of Bitcoin into US dollar tether, which I would suspect will probably be mirrored by other stable coins across the market, of course, with there being a Binance stable coin that holds a lot of market cap in the top 10 and the USDC. So it's it's not all the stable coins, it's the US dollar tether dominance of the market cap. I would suspect that they will be more or less in line with each other because we sell out of Bitcoin into one of several different stable coins. Then I've looked at the dominance chart, which is just here in the middle. And again, it's not added too much value. As Bitcoin's price has declined, we have seen its dominance increase. And that's fairly understandable given that alts tend to fall harder and faster than what we see the big dominant Bitcoin do. Of course, Bitcoin's dominance is a higher value than anything else in the entire market. So as the price falls, Bitcoin's dominance does tend to increase. Why? Because alts get hammered harder. People sell out of their alts a lot faster into stable coins. So when I look across these three charts, as confusing as it looks, and it does look very confusing. I've gone into detail here and I have looked very, very closely at the daily as well. And I'm not seeing anything that I can use. As you can see, again, on a more zoomed in, it's showing the exact same information. As we see down here, this is the Bitcoin price. As the Bitcoin price declines, US dollar tether uptake increases. When Bitcoin goes up, US dollar dominance declines. And we pretty much have an inverse chart of dollar dominance to Bitcoin price action, the inverse. When I look at it again in here, when I look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, again, is it showing me anything that I can actually use? Because I've got an awful lot of information in front of me right now, but it's not just about what information we can look at. It's about how can we transcribe that into something we can actually use. Now, my concluding findings on doing this is that this is simply a way to have analysis paralysis. I rarely do experiments like this where I look at new ways of doing things. And that might sound like I'm closed-minded and I'm not interested in learning. I absolutely am interested in learning. The thing is, though, is that I've been trading for nearly 18 years. I can easily say 18 years now. I've been in crypto now for 6 years. Yeah, July of 2017. So nearly 6 years. You get my gist. I've been in crypto for a long time, more or less exclusively, but I've been trading for the last 17, 18 years. I'm very familiar with what I know works for me. That's why I have 3 trading strategies. Okay. I will at times with additional information, such as, I'm not used to having a Bitcoin dominance chart or a market dominance chart or a stablecoin dominance chart. I have now overlaid those. And what I have found throughout this exercise today, and it has been a considerable amount of time, that this is a very good way to confuse yourself. So what do we do in this case? Well, from what I understand from looking at all of these 3, how closely correlated they are, is that if you want to see what Bitcoin's price is doing without looking at Bitcoin, I don't know why you do that, you would look at the US dollar tether dominance chart. And then flip it. When I get rid of that, actually, sorry, let me get rid of, because that's my main chart. If I get rid of Bitcoin's chart, I am now left with the dominance chart for Bitcoin, which is down here, and the dominance chart for Tether, which is just here. There is nothing there that suggests that either of those 2 are linked in any way, shape, or form. So I can get rid of that. So now I'm looking at the dollar dominance chart, and it looks exactly like my Bitcoin chart doing a handstand. So whilst I went through and did all that information, Sorry, I looked at all that information. What I found is that none of it was of any use to me at all. So I conclude yet again that price action is your most valuable tool when trading. It's nice to have these other things that we can look at, and we can look at this across everything else as well. We can overlay more indicators on board, we can overlay whatever we want. But at the end of the day, does it actually help? And through this experiment that I've just done, I can quite clearly and concisely say, for me and the way that I trade, it has no value at all whatsoever. I will look at the Bitcoin dominance chart from time to time because it does sometimes help me to figure out what I'm to do with my portfolio. Perhaps if there is a trend that is available on Bitcoin's dominance, like there currently is, there's a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. It would seem that the rest of the market, it doesn't mean Bitcoin's price is rising. It tells me that the rest of the market is taking more of a bath at this stage than what Bitcoin is. So if I'd have moved my other tokens into Bitcoin when I had this higher low to higher high, then I would have seen a gain overall in my portfolio for the move between this high here as we broke it to where we are currently right now. It's a tool that I can use, yes, for sure. Is it one that I'm going to put an awful lot of effort into after the years of looking at it? And will I combine dollars dominance overlaying with the Bitcoin price to try and make predictions on future price moves? Absolutely not. The best place that you can go to do your trading is the chart itself. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis. And whether or not you've done this specific activity or you're currently trying different indicators all the time, trying to overlay it to find things, you're going to run into this problem again and again. But have you got the experience and expertise to be able to recognize that problem and stop it? The best thing you can do is learn chart structure, trend, price action, and how we get patterns from price itself. So apologies if that feels like we didn't get anything out of this, but at the end of the day, the reality is trust price, not everything else. Don't get analysis paralysis. Hope that helps. Have a great day. Bye for now.